and we vote on what we're gonna charge with those every year as well. So, and I've been slowly rolling those back as the guys getting paid to make sure that, so that's like, that's actually a real decrease, is those two. And we have to vote on it every time, so it's nothing, no new millages. Because if there was going to be a new millage, the residents would have to vote for that.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
It would have to be on,
yeah, so this is our.
Is Riser still out of town?
No, he's back.
Next year.
It's 30 please. Well, good evening to those that are here in chambers as well as to those tuning on via our broadcast options. And I'd like us to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to our public notice public hearing. And Clerk Tomasic, please call roll.
Schumate,
Here.
Bosmer,
Here.
Cox,
Here.
Dill,
Here.
LaPointe, McNabb,
Here.
Mulmarch.
We have absent council members. Clerk Tomasic, would you like any motion to excuse absent members?
Yes, we can do
May we get a motion to
Motion to
excuse?
excuse absent members.
Motion by Cox, support by Bosmer. Any discussion? Clerk Tomasic, would you like to please call roll?
voice vote.
Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. With that, for our members of public here in chambers, we'll be opening up today's public hearing with a presentation by myself. And then today is about our public and the hearing accordingly. And so we'll turn over the floor for any questions or comments our public may have. So with that, council, any questions before we get started? Well, before I walk up to the podium, I just want to reinforce what we've discussed many a times to date, which is my immense gratitude for Finance Director McEwen, City Administrator Witherspoon, and all of our department heads that made this budget proposal possible, as well as to my peers for a really good discussion we had during our April 28th meeting. And with that, I will take the stand to share some slides. All right, it's important to frame today in this opening slide, which gives you a flavor of how we have structured this presentation. We'll kick things off with our budget process to reinforce how we got to this hearing. We'll then talk about the objectives and the guiding principles that drive our process. We'll give a deep dive overview on the financials. And to our members of public who can't see the slides, these are slides that will be publicly posted, but I will speak to the highlights and numerics that you may not be able to visualize. We'll then discuss how we view the key operating changes from a budgetary cycle perspective, and then we'll close up with projects. This first slide, I think, helps you understand the approved budget process from a council perspective. Give kudos to Finance Director McEwen because I recall early on in my time in this administration, we had made it very intentional to calendarize the activities that get us to this public hearing. It all starts with the adoption of a budget calendar, which was adopted in December of 2025. Our finance director then begins the revenue and the expenditure forecasting, which usually takes place in March. She then holds meetings with the department heads, and this is where I commend our department heads because they work together to understand the departmental requirements in light of the budgetary considerations. We have a meeting, myself and the finance director and the administrator, to review, and then I bring the budget to a public discussion for which we held on April 28th. That gives our council members, our voting members, a chance to come together, review the budget proposal, and make sure we're locked and loaded for our public hearing. That public hearing is scheduled for today, and today we will talk about our millage and the broader landscape of our budgetary proposal. City Council will then be tasked with adopting that budget and that millage, and according to our charter, that takes place by the second meeting of May, which in this case is May 26th, due to the holiday. For our members of public, we are here elected to serve this community and everybody that puts us in these seats, and we have a duty to protect our tax dollars. And if you think about the objectives and guiding principles that lead our budgetary process, number one above all is transparency. The thing about local government is that everything by definition should be available to our residents. And we want to make sure that our budget signals not only our policy direction, but how we are accountable to managing our financial capacity. As we look at our budget, we also should understand that this isn't just a point in time. Budgets and the full year cycles build upon each other and must have a longer term horizon tied to strategic initiative to make sure that we are forward looking, that we accept any challenge, whether planned or unforeseen, with openness, optimism, and persistence. And that I think, as we've done a very good job to date of doing, try and embrace technology and the use of it to drive efficiency and effectiveness in service of our residents, our businesses, and those that visit Gibraltar. As I opened up with, we are here because of you all that are listening and or in chambers. So the goal of this is that it is service-oriented. We want this to focus on the needs of our community and the service of our community. We want to focus on building reliable infrastructure. We want to focus on cost reductions where possible. And we want to continue to hold ourselves accountable for reviewing our professional services to make sure we have the right agreements at the right cost structure at the right time. Building on that, it's not just us. This is a collaboration and a strong and wide collaboration. We collaborate very closely with our surrounding communities. We collaborate very closely with our state and federal elected officials. We leverage the voice of our community and the stakeholder expertise. I know early on in our last administration, we had done a survey to understand the view of our residents. We continue to ensure that residents have a voice at any meeting that we hold. And in this case, for budgetary, we've had multiple discussions publicly on this matter, and we want to focus today on hearing the voice of our public. With the community being heavily engaged and leveraging their expertise, which I think has been a really neat observation I've had, and people that have professional or personal sets of skills and expertise that have put their hand up to serve their community, whether for infrastructure, so many other committees or forums for which they participated, we want to make sure our employees are engaged. And that really parallels the process we had. You know, our department heads should be empowered with a financial capacity and held accountable to that. And so obviously a huge part of this process is making sure the voice of our employees that make this operation possible each and every day is represented. From a philosophical point of view, we I think hopefully have made it clear that we want to maintain Gibraltar's character and the quality of life we get to experience in this amazing city. We've done a lot of work on land use planning, zoning ordinance updates. We've made a very intentional focus on infrastructure, from going out there and inspecting and replacing lead lines, as you've seen across our community, to now being on our third water main project as an administration, to addressing the very unique nature of 8 bridges and bridges that need help, to our DDA, to our streets and our repairs of our roads, to our efficiency when it comes to utilities, and to ultimately updating our buildings, including the new carpet that I happen to be standing on here in the chambers. None of this happens without the people that make it possible, and I want to give a huge shout out to all the employees that are here each and every day serving this community. But with that being said, we must attract and retain quality employees, and a part of that is making sure we are fair and robust in our compensation and in the financial capacities they need to be successful. And it all comes down to my earlier comment, which is we can't look at this as just a year. We need to look at this as how are years building upon another? What are our trajectory considerations? How do we manage what is many years of need for which we need to unlock forward-looking capacity? And so I say that because financial sustainability and accountability is mission critical in what we do here from a budgetary perspective. Making sure that we have a prioritized view of our capital improvement opportunities with a calendarized view of how we unlock financial capacity. We're very lucky to have gotten the $1 million grant for our West Jefferson water main as an example, but we have a lot of work in front of us that needs to be done, and we need to make sure we unlock funds to do that great work. We want to make sure we're continuing to hold our professional service vendors accountable and negotiating good deals for the city of Gibraltar. We want to make sure that we have a horizon, and in this case specifically a 5-year capital improvement plan. I know a part of this deck includes a headline slide on kind of how we view the 5 years in front of us. And as you'll see in the slides, the majority lands in our Director of Public Safety's court and our Department of Public Safety and their service to the community. And we want to have strong focus on public safety in the city of Gibraltar. With that being said, let's dive into the financials. For those that are here and can see the slide, on the left, you're going to see a pie chart, which shows you revenue by source. On the right, you will see a table, and that table shows you the absolute values, whereas the pie chart shows percentiles, as well as the percentiles, and it's color-coded to represent decreases in green versus an increase in red. The headline takeaway is that property taxes and our water sewer revenues represent 60% of the overall budget. Building on this, I'm very excited to share with the community on behalf of all my peers and those that made it possible that from a property tax perspective, you might come in asking, well, is this hearing about any raise in taxes? And the short answer is the slide is very clear. We are proposing a millage reduction of 0.4833 mils. In my time here, this will be my third budget cycle I've been privileged to be a part of. Each of those 3 times we have reduced our millage. In this case, we're reducing that millage again this budget cycle, in this case by 0.4833 mils. We're looking at a taxable value growth of 1.6%. Now, if you recall the previous slide, to kind of contextualize water and sewer rates, we have a city administrator who is very resourceful and partnering with Finance Director McEwen and others to perform a water rate study. And that, as you can see here, is May is the target. I want to note that given the evolution of society, for cash payments when it comes to water bills, pennies will no longer be available, but I look forward to reviewing the results of the water study with our administration. And the last bullet, just as a note that the intergovernmental reflects internal fund transfers, which includes solid waste, roads, water, and DDA, as well as Act 51 and state shared revenue. I gave you the headline, which is that we are reducing our millage by 0.4833 mils. But for those in the room, I wanted to be able to paint the historical trajectory. And the slide you'll see from full year 2021 all the way through full year 2026, the change across our millage rates. And again, the headline takeaway is we've reduced our millage, in this case, by 0.4833 mils. And that's the 3rd year in a row that we've done so. So you might say, okay, I pay taxes. I'm concerned about affordability in society and more broadly. What are my taxpayer funds going towards? And I want to commend City Administrator Witherspoon and Finance Director McEwen, because for those that can't see the slide, it's a chocolate bar. Why is a chocolate bar being put on here? Because our funds collected from millage rates can be broken down to $1.93 a resident per day, or roughly the cost of a Hershey's chocolate bar. So I know taxes are a challenge in society. I want you to be very clear that we are now, again, for the 3rd year in a row, proposing a millage reduction. But to contextualize that point, taxation is not just in the city of Gibraltar's control. There's other factors that impose tax increases, which we have no say as a community. But I thought Rachel did a really beautiful job of kind of sharing with you, where are my dollars going? Well, your dollars in the case of City of Gibraltar, those millage rates can be broken down to $1.93 per person per day, which is about the cost of a Hershey's bar. You can see the largest slice of that chocolate bar is our police and our fire department, Parks and Rec, DPW, elections, and resident services, followed by the next slice of garbage yard waste, next slice of water and sewer projects, next slice of road and bridge repairs, and then the last slice of that bar being City Hall. Let's talk about financial or fiscal health in the summation of that. In this slide, you're going to see that our general fund, our operating budget is not balanced. We're proposing $148,015 from fund balance, with the possibility of up to $70,000 of that being reimbursed from the state. It's related to election equipment. It's important to note that wages and benefits make up 69.45% of the total general fund budget, with retirees making up 10.25% of the general fund budget. So you might be saying, whoa, wait a minute. We're pulling $148,015 from fund balance. I want you to take a step back and think about 70K of that should be reimbursed from the state. Not certain, but should be, number one. And then number two, I think it's important to, per my earlier comments, contextualize where we came from. When this administration, some of my peers came into office in November of 2023, the audit showed a fund balance of $2.976 million. The following audit showed a fund balance of $3.189 million. And then the following audit, most recent audit, showed a fund balance of $3.304 million. So in those three audits, if you compare 23 to the most recent audit, we've added $327,864 to our fund balance. We always want to be fiscally responsible when it comes to polling. We don't want to poll for perpetual operating costs. But what I will say is that we're sitting now with a general fund balance of 40% relative to expenditure. I know our finance director engaged our professional accountants who said that that range should be 30 to 35% on target. So we have a higher fund balance percentile than an accounting firm says you should have on hand. That's good news. But we can't perpetually pull from our fund balance, and we can't stick in operating costs that are going to perpetually bleed our fund balance. So I wanted to just make sure everybody had the data points in context of the general fund bullets. And again, we'll be open for any discussion since this is the public hearing. The next item I wanted to call out is our major street fund. That operating budget is balanced, and we have modest fund equity for road and bridge projects. The teams have been hard at work, whether it's Horse Island Bridge or planning on Young Bridge or road repairs that we've done in the community. And I know Rachel will give some updates at our council meeting today in context of some of those focused areas. Our local street fund is also operating budget balanced. We spend down a fund balance of 75 to 85%. And then our DDA fund is operating budget balance with a fund balance of approximately $500,000. To this next slide, continuing on the fiscal health summary of our major operating funds, capital improvements voted millage. This is our final year. That operating budget is balanced, and a big spend down will be occurring with the West Jefferson water main that I mentioned earlier. We'll also be taking our pump inventory. On the water and sewer fund, I alluded to this earlier, we'll have a water study that's going to be reviewed by council. These funds are going to be split with the addition of tracking software to improve or better our accounting transparency and planning. So I look forward to that water study review with my peers in our community. Pension funds, our operating budget is balanced, and per our last actuary review, our police is sitting at 110.8%, and our employee at 124.7%. So obviously incredibly healthy positions in context. And then our retiree healthcare operating budget is also balanced, and that's more of a pay-as-you-go model. If you wanted to see the visual breakdown, this bar chart will show you those fund balance to budget comparisons across those major operating funds. All right, so we talked about general fund, some of the history, and then some of the context. In this slide, you'll see the pie chart on the left shows you the breakdown of our sources of fund for our general fund and the percentiles tagged. On the right-hand side, you'll see a table that shows you those absolute values. Again, green decreasing, red increasing. And as you can see here, property taxes and state revenues make up over 60% of our general fund revenues. From a general fund expenditures, same concept in the slide, left pie chart or percentiles, right table with absolute and percentiles, green decrease, red increase. Headline takeaway here is from a general fund expenditure point of view, police, fire, and DPW make up about 70% of our general fund expenditures. So you got a good lay of the land of where we sit financially, the major account summaries, and some of the nuances across each of those areas. Now let's talk about our proposed operating changes in context of our budget proposal. Number one is we have the addition of our DPW assistant director. I know we've probably sound like a broken record at this point. John Sant coming into that operation, coupled with the employees that have made it possible today, has been an incredibly impactful and valuable add to our operation. When we think about the succession planning, when we think about making sure we're resourced for optimized execution, I think this DPW assistant director is a critical move in that direction. Number two is we want to make sure we add asset management and maintenance software. It's an area that we strategically focus on as an administration, and I think provides a lot of efficiency and effectiveness opportunities. Number three is we're proposing making our fire captain a part-time position that provides necessary operational support from a leadership point of view. I think Captain Schaefer's done a phenomenal job to contribute contributions to the department. Obviously, we are very blessed to have Fire Chief Simon in her role. I think, but the two of them, coupled with the broader members that make it possible, by making this move and investing in our fire captain as a part-time position on lock, I think really helps balance the operational support for what is now solely burdened upon our fire chief, while also driving more leadership presence in our fire department for all those that make it possible each and every day. We also have an investment we're making to really try and drive long-term employment sustainability for our firefighters in the fire department. We have our lead line grant. There's $178K remaining, and that will need to be spent by August. I know I opened up and alluding to some of the infrastructure areas, and I know many of you have seen work across the community, not only in inspecting lead lines, but getting those lead lines out and replacing them. So we have more work to do, and that spend needs to be spent down by August. We are anticipating contractual increases when it comes to solid waste and recycling services. And we are, as you all know, who are familiar and exposed, the healthcare and insurance industry has imposed an immense cost on many local communities in addition to corporate or broader settings. So we are anticipating increased insurance costs, and we've baked that into our budget proposal. Upcoming projects. We have a beautiful board that covers projects, as you're ever curious, here in City Hall. I know City Administrator Witherspoon has a board in her office on which gator's closest to the boat. We have a very good set of priorities that we reviewed amongst council, and we included that in our session we had together on April 28th. But when you think about the budgetary landscape, some headline projects, Horse Island Bridge and all the feasibility evaluations related to the path there. Federal funding for Young Street Bridge replacement. Continuing the execution and spend down of our lead and copper grant. West Jefferson Water Main, really critical water main project. As you heard earlier from me, we did get that $1 million grant, which is hugely beneficial, but we're gonna still have to incur money as a community, and so that total estimated cost requires utilization of about $1.35 million from our capital improvements millage. We are focused on a land inventory of city-owned properties. We're focused on a recast leaders program to help support small businesses. And I know our Parks and Recreation Director, Hannah, has done a phenomenal job in partnership with the commission around enhancing our recreation programming. So my last kind of headline slide to consider here is we want to have a forward-looking direction. And I mentioned earlier around kind of the 5-year capital improvement horizon. That work has a lot of financial capacity required to get it done, and really proud of the progress we made so far. But just to kind of set a horizon view, we'll focus this cycle on setting our foundation, reinforcing our foundation, and that's through continuing to advance our policies, our procedures, our inventories, our capital planning, and identifying any new dollars and sources for said dollars. We'll then make sure that our next cycle is relentlessly focused on our bridges, Horse Island Bridge, Young Drive Bridge, and our Gibraltar Road bridges. We'll then segue to roads, and effectuating the required replacements of our roads that need structural repair. We'll then segue to water and sewer and continuing to double down on the lead service line and water main momentum that we've made. And then we'll really kind of focus on municipal buildings, and that would be City Hall, DPW, and community centers. So just intended to give you kind of a horizon look at how we could calendarize key focus, building on the momentum that we've achieved to date. So I'm proud of our budget and the proposal that we have in front of you. I want to thank my peers, thank Finance Director McEwen, our department heads, and City Administrator Witherspoon. And this year and this hearing is all about our community. And so with that, I will stop talking, return to my seat, and we'd love to hear from our members of the community any questions you may have or comments. That light is still green, and we will welcome any members. Do we have any members of our public that wish to address council? Okay. I'm not seeing any public comment, which I hope is a testament to the confidence in what has been shared. But I want to turn over to my peers to see if you all have any questions or comments.
None at this time. You know,
Okay.
Good job, team.
Thorough.
You know,
Good job.
Great. City Administrator Witherspoon, any closing comments before I look for adjournment?
No, I just want to thank everyone. As I said in our last meeting, this wasn't a fun budget to do, especially with our department heads. They had to make a lot of sacrifices. But I feel confident in the budget we presented and in making this the year of the foundation to make sure in future years we don't have as difficult of a cycle.
Great. Well, if there's no further comments, last call for the public. Finance Director McEwen, anything you want to say? Thank you so much.
Just gonna quickly add, like, when Garrett was rattling off those fund balances, those are restricted fund balances. I always list on restricted, so that's why the numbers are different, in case anybody is wondering.
Thank you. John, you just walked in. Any comments you'd like to share before we look for a motion to adjourn? All right. He said no, for those that couldn't hear him. Well, with that, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Support.
By McNabb. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Well, thank you all for attending our public hearing. As mentioned, we will make sure that slides are made published when appropriate, and we will be back in this chambers and ready to go for our council meeting, which is scheduled to start at 6:30. Thank you all.
Good job. We're gonna be losing some money here though on, critical building.
Did you go to that
I mean, it was $490,000 a year. That's gonna be gone at the end of this month, unless we reach out to the people and ask for a vote. At this point right now, maybe not. If we can make things work, I think we need the money. We've been paying on it thus far, but it doesn't sell. This is, 2019. Oh, yeah, always for 30 years. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
It's our losses and gains, it's a little formula. And,
Yep.
you calculate all that, it's calculated.
If we have a conversation.
The only way board taxes can go up is if it's
Vegas is something that's informational.
safety milk, but they would have to vote for the
City Hall's meeting.
And then it would.
Exactly. And it should be